Hello and welcome to a brand new vlog. I'm Lucas and today I am going to recall and tell you a bunch of flip-flop stories that I had in the past. Yep, flip-flop stories. Stories about shoes that are only supposed to cover the sole of your foot. I mean, flip-flops are supposed to be poor men's shoes, or poor woman, depending on what you are. They're supposed to only cover the sole of your foot and are basically very minimal. I mean, most of the time it's just a piece of cardboard or tire that you tie to your feet, and there you go, there's your shoes. But nowadays it's one of the heights of fashion. Most people wear flip-flops all the time. I mean, it's practical. You can take it off whenever you want to. It allows your feet to be airy, roomy, and plus they can look cool on your feet. Most people believe that flip-flops are supposed to be poor people's shoes and would rather go for things like sandals and leather shoes and all of these kinds of high fashion shoes. Me personally, I'm a very, very big flip-flop fan. I always wear flip-flops whenever I can. Sometimes I accidentally wear flip-flops when I'm supposed to wear leather shoes, which gets me into trouble, but otherwise, a lot of the time, when I wear flip-flops, I feel much more comfortable than when I wear normal sandals or leather shoes. Right, so there is a total of 3 stories which I've got to do with flip-flops, 2 of which both are about how I lost them and are kind of boring. But the last one which I have to tell you, and that is related to the first pair of flip-flops I had, that's the most interesting one, and I will tell it at the end of the video just to make this more interesting. But for the moment, I'm going to tell you the stories of the second and the third flip-flops. Before that, let's just go on a little explanation of me and flip-flop. So over the course of 15 years, I've wore 4 pairs of flip-flops. Now, I think 3 of them I've worn in the past 7 years. So the first 7 years of my life I wore 1 pair, and then the rest of the time I've worn 3 other pair, but good reasons why I had to keep changing. I did say before that I was going to ignore the first pair of flip-flops because that's the most interesting, so I'm going to move on directly to the second one. Now the second ones were green, so they were sort of a greenish color, and they had a plastic strap. Usually flip-flops are made of woven string, but this one was made of plastic, so it was more related to poor people's shoes. But anyway, these pairs of shoes I brought on to a holiday. Now, it wasn't really a holiday per se, it's more of a school trip, but I could count it as a holiday. I mean, it's abroad, it's actually in Hawaii, which is a beautiful place to go. We did a lot of school-related stuff, but otherwise, you could technically consider it as a holiday since you basically barely did any schoolwork. So we went there and we went to this resort. This resort has a beautiful pool, and over there we went in and we had a little swim. Now of course, because it's a pool and because it's Hawaii, it's hot, so I brought my flip-flops. I took the flip-flops towards the pool and I put the flip-flops beside the pool. We didn't have a laugh, you know, we played around in the water, and it was getting dark, so we had to go back into our dormitories to get ready for dinner. Now, the thing about me is that I also enjoy walking barefoot around. If I can't wear flip-flops, I walk barefoot. And so, naturally, with complete instinct, I just walked barefoot back to the bedroom. I didn't think about wearing flip-flops because I was already walking barefoot around the pool, so naturally I would go back and forget my flip-flops beside the pool side. Now at this point, I didn't have my flip-flops anymore. They were left beside the pool, and I don't know why, but someone during the night came in and took my flip-flops away. It could have been the cleaning man trying to clean up the pool and taking them away because he thought it was rubbish. But the morning that I realized the flip-flops were gone, I went back to the pool to check, couldn't find it anymore, and naturally, because I was a 12-year-old at the time, I started bawling my eyes out. I literally sat in the teacher's lap and cried. A 12-year-old. Now, of course, everyone else had a good laugh because not all the time you see a 12-year-old crying because he lost a pair of shoes. The teacher tried to help me. He called the staff to see if anything happened, but at the end we didn't find it. It was gone forever. And during the entire trip, I did not find a new pair of flip-flops, and we only got a new pair once we reached home and back in China. Coincidentally, that was when my mom bought her first iPad. But at the same time, I lost a pair of flip-flops, so it's a pity. They were a good pair of flip-flops, and I always lose stuff. I lost a lot of things so far, and I keep thinking it's because I've got a stalker behind my back trying to stalk and steal things from me, even though I know that's unreasonable because I'm not popular enough for people to start stalking me. Or am I? Maybe it's that guy from the concert following me again. But anyway, moving on to the second story. Now, this time it happened in China, in a farm. And I was wearing my flip-flops as usual, even though it wasn't as hot as in Hawaii, but it was still a nice day to wear flip-flops. And of course, because at this time I was 13, we started playing around the farm. It was a Chinese sort of farm, like the one that you grow plants instead of animals. So it's not like there were a lot of animals, it was just a lot of fields and a lot of plants. So we started adventuring, we walked around and we found lots of different plants and things. Now, my flip-flops at this point were already pretty weak. Like the string that was supposed to be attached to the flip-flop broke. It wasn't exactly broken, it was just a thing that is supposed to stay inside it, but instead it went down into the ground, so it is not supposed to do that, but it did that. A matter of time before it eventually broke through the flip-flop entirely, I mean the other way, and then break my flip-flops. And of course, at the end we ended up with a flip-flop having a huge hole in the middle where the string should have been. Now, that happened in the middle of the farm. So we were walking around and suddenly one of the strings from my flip-flops breaks. And we're in the middle of a rocky field. So there is a problem. I have to walk back and I can't use my flip-flops because they're broken. So I ended up having to walk on top of jagged rocks through the entire farm just to get back to my parents. And luckily, where they were, the floor was completely smooth and clean, so I didn't have a problem once I reached there. But I had to spend the rest of the party barefoot because I didn't have any shoes to replace it. And also, we had to keep the flip-flops there. Like, we literally took the flip-flops, put them on top of a pile, and left them there. And at that point I was also sad, but not as sad as in Hawaii, because this time I knew what happened to the flip-flops and I knew there was no other alternative. It was just gonna stay there and be there. And when we left, I did leave barefoot. Did the entire thing barefoot, all the way up to the hotel where we had to spare a change of shoes. It was a really amazing trip, really. I had to do the entire thing barefoot. Alright, and now we move back to the first pair of flip-flops for the final tale. Hope you're still here, didn't click away, because by far, this is the most interesting one. I mixed up the sentence, damn it. But anyway, this happened in Singapore, and by that time I was already around 7 to 10 and had these amazingly plain pair of flip-flops. They were completely black, always the only thing that's on it being the Kappa logo, which is a brand of clothing apparel thingamajigs. But anyway, this happened in Singapore, and more precisely it happened near a river in Singapore. This happened with another family. We came to Singapore because of them, since they live there. And we were just taking a stroll along this really crowded street. You know, it's a very popular place beside a river. I can't remember the place name, but it's supposed to be one of the highlights of Singapore. they're supposed to have a lot of shopping and restaurants and lights, especially at night. There's supposed to be a carnival. I don't know exactly what happened, but it's supposed to be a very lively place, especially at night. So we went there, we took a stroll along the river, and we decided to take a break. So what I did is I sit on the side of the bank, and I just stood there and looked around and saw all the beautiful lights. Now what happened after that was I slipped and one of my flip-flop fell. And it fell into the river, and because it was pretty light, it just floated on top of the river. At that point, I started crying again, because I'm a crybaby. And because I'm also a very, very spoiled child, my dad decided to rent a boat, climb on it, and ride it all the way up to my flip-flop. One singular flip-flop. I didn't lose a pair, I lost one flip-flop. He went all the way just to get one flip-flop, and it was like a 10-meter ride. He paid the person to borrow the boat just to get one pair of flip-flops. Later on, they said that this pair of flip-flops cost 10 something, and they could have gotten a new one very easily, and they had to pay the guy 15 or so just to get that pair back. So really, they spent more money getting that pair of flip-flop rather than buying a new one, and that was really amazing. I mean, it's useless. It was probably the most annoying thing, especially for the family that we were with, because they had to endure the entire thing and watch us get the flip-flop back. They even nicknamed me I Want, or something like that, because I kept saying I want. And we ended up having to get the flip-flop out of the pool because I was crying. And the funny part is, we didn't even keep it after we left Singapore. I gave it to my friend before we left. So we ended up just doing that for no reason. We basically just gave up the pair of flip-flops after we left. And the only thing that we got in return was a couple extra days of wearing and a free gift. So really, this was the most amazing thing that my dad has ever done to me. Of course, since it's soon, actually today is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you, Daddy. And otherwise, really, this was one of the most unexplainable things that my dad has done just to me. But yeah, that was basically the 3 things that has happened to all of my flip-flops so far. The current pair, I haven't done anything tragic to it yet, but its time will come, especially since we're going to Ireland, and there we probably won't be able to wear any more flip-flops. I'm sad. But anyway, time to give my tongue a rest, because it is the end of this vlog. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way up to this point. I hope you watch another one of my vlogs, and I shall say to you, goodbye.